A few days before the official meetup, we decided to do some BattleBots. Unfortunately, this was on the same day that they released their new update, and they changed the physics such that it was literally impossible to do BattleBots. After quite a few weeks and a lot of time spent on the arena, it was probably pretty depressing that we couldn't actually do Kato Bar's event. We did give it a shot, tried a couple of different battle bots against a couple of different battle bots, but it always ended exactly the same. In the end, we decided to get an early start on the Hovercraft event. I hadn't built my hovercrafts yet, but some other people had finished theirs. This, for example, is the Derrick, which we'll see a little bit more of later on. It's a very flexible ship. This is Kato Bar's Leaf. It uses passive outriggers, which means it is very effective about keeping up in the air even when there's a lot of high gravity. But it's hard to launch, and it does drift downwards continuously, giving it a little bit of a muddy feeling. We'll see a refined version of this later. This is Rebot's Beetle. I think it has some weird automatic damping system. I don't know anything about it, though. Certainly looks alive. But not as alive as these guys shooting guns. We also tried some mixed battles, a tank and a hovercraft versus a tank and a hovercraft. So there's Kato Bar on the left, whereas the tank of the green team is moving off in the opposite direction. They're circling counterclockwise while their aerospace buddies fight in the sky. But Kato Bar has a massive speed advantage, and I doubt that Flame's gonna see him. Oh, he's shooting at the wrong tank. Eventually we wrapped up for the night. Although I didn't get to fly any of my hovercraft, we did come back on Monday and fly all sorts of hovercrafts. So I guess I'll introduce you to some of those and some of Monday's fights right about now. So this is the Derrick Superlight, which, as you can see, automatically moves the engines so that they're pointed down at all times. Now this is done primarily through a mass block that makes the bottom quite heavy. The engines firing upwards certainly doesn't hurt. And it's got some guns. Now this is the little brother of the Derrick, which is right there. Now this is a much larger version which features a much wider variety of weapons, but as you can see, it has the same principle. Now this sort of gimbaling joint is great. It allows you to do all sorts of maneuvers without having to worry about whether you're tilted or not. Both of these are by Matt Wurst. This is Evil Luigi's Atom, and he says it can fly. Matt's designs were about ease of use, but Luigi's designs are about recovery, so you can destroy one of these engines, and it can recover. Like that. Neat. So this is Rebot's Bug. It's a very small hovercraft in comparison to some of the others, and what he's done is he's nested the engines inside of the shell, and they're pointed down. You can see how they react automatically to try and keep the ship stable. I'm 99% sure that he's using nothing but sensors to do that, rather than any of the more complex things that I normally do. So this is a version of the Leaf that we saw a little bit earlier that's been beefed up so it can take on some of the heavier hovercraft that we have running around. You can see he's used my mod to create a central bank of engines, and he's got a variety of hinge-attached engine modules and some guns. He's also got his landing gear set up such that he can land flat and then tip back so that he can get off the ground, because Ketobar really likes the passive systems. So these are all passive engines that will catch his fall, but they won't help him get off the ground. Ketobar's discovered that the amount of thrust that the outrigger engines, passive outrigger engines, apply is actually based on the mass of their physics object. So if you've got outrigger engines, you should make them the heavy part of your ship. So this is the Type 0727, which has a similar set of functions to the one we looked at earlier, where we shot his engine off, except that he's used heavier rotors. I'm not a fan of these heavier rotors because they don't actually have any substantially better performance, but in this case you can see he's got two directions that he can move his engines. He can do both gimbaling out and gimbaling forward and back, which is a powerful set of tools for keeping your control if you lose engines. Now the question is whether or not he's actually set it up to do that, since it's quite a bit of difficulty. Another thing I'm not sure of is that he has enough weapons to actually take us on. The Scarab is by Scorpec, who couldn't be here today, but his is a very similar design to some of the ones we've already seen, except really cute. He's using wheels and specific engine tilts to try and get the most out of his vehicle. I'm not sure how well it flies or if it has any special features, but let's take a look. So, I don't know if my lag is really bad on this machine or what. Maybe my internet is extraordinarily poor, but I literally cannot get any response. This is Marcelo's hovercraft, and it's called the Ruivalk. And this is my heavy hover, the Cumulus, or the Cumulo, and it's ready to play. So I want you to guess what my big problem was this week. Just guess. It's 3 letters long, starts with an L, and ends with gah. So, could you tell what killed me there? No? Let's take another look at another battle and see if you can figure it out. What is this strange, mysterious death that awaits us? I'll give you a hint. I'm the only one firing missiles. Do you think, perhaps, just maybe, missiles are broken again? Just maybe. A little. Alright, so the problem is this fire here, or any incoming fire like it. The missiles have a very, very wide collision detection range, and so my scatter guns will hit the missile as it's leaving the barrel, or incoming fire will hit them as they're leaving the barrel, and they will explode. And that will take out the front half of my ship. This is made slightly worse because I'm using modded missiles that have a slightly larger radius than normal, and that means that I really don't have much chance. If I fire the missiles, I am going to die, so I went through this combat without firing any. And while I didn't exactly win, I didn't suddenly explode, so hey, that was nice. If you're wondering how I'm still up and running, the Cumulo is built specifically to survive virtually any kind of damage you can throw at it regardless of its altitude, unless that damage comes from inside the Cumulo. So I was really annoyed that I failed so many times just due to a weird finicky weapon system. Scorpic wasn't around to fly his Scarab, so I flew it for him. Unfortunately, it's a very light ship in comparison to the rest of the fighters we were running with, and it couldn't really hold up. I did win a couple of fights with it, but more out of luck than anything else. It's just too light compared to the others. But it works well enough. See if I can catch up with my buddy in the Atom there. Victory. Well, I mean, surely I can fire a few missiles as long as no one's shooting at me and I'm not firing my guns, right? I can get away with that, right? The coming down from on high attack is a gamble that you can deal more damage than your enemy, because with no cover at all, you're pretty well exposed. Rebot's been known to have enough aim to actually fire a single shot and take out the cockpit. In this case, he just fired a single shot and took out the engines. So it's dangerous to come down from on high, but if you manage to pull it off, it works well. I'm not sure what happened there, but it looks like everyone died. So that's Rebot in blue, and I don't know who in yellow. Rebot has decided that he really likes ramming, which normally I would say poor show, but frankly it's fine when we've got these kinds of weapons and these kinds of ships. As we learned at the beginning of the video, the physics of ramming are radically different than they were the week before, and now ships more or less bounce off of each other. The only time a ram is actually successful is if the two ships overlap to the point where the physics engine just gives up and disintegrates them both. So I can't really recommend ramming as an approach. It doesn't do any damage, and if it does, both sides die. So we're gonna watch. See? No damage. Didn't even break a gun. Ready for some just desserts? Pfft, rammers. This ship's a little unstable with those inverted turns. Ooh. Took an engine. Come on, you can recover. Oh no. Come on. Oh, now he's in trouble. Oh no, you're getting cocky. Turn off your missiles. Turn off your missiles. Turn off your missiles. Oh, you idiot. Idiot. Well, he sure loves ramming. Getting desperate? Try a missile. Why not? What could it hurt? Well, maybe it's just me. Do you think it's just me? It might be just me. Nope, it's not just me. The winner just lost 2 of his nacelles to the final gunfire of the other guy. They jettisoned automatically to keep the ship balanced. He continues on with 2 nacelles and performs quite well. Eventually, the 2 ships, collide. And of course, he's fighting Rebot. What else would happen? This is the only time Rebot wins by ramming, because he rams a ship that was already on its last legs and tips it over, and that's all that's required for it to fall over like a turtle and be unable to get back into the air. He doesn't damage it, it doesn't explode, it just can't get back up. Idiot. Idiot. So I have a question for you. How hard is it to not use missiles? Because I think it might be really hard to not use missiles. And that's how durable they are if you don't blow them up on accident. So that was what we did last Monday. This Monday we're going to do cars, because the car physics have changed. We're going to do some off-roading. It's going to be fun, so drop by and take a look if you'd like. Now, final verdict on hover vehicles. I think they're probably not worth it. It takes a lot of engines, and that's probably not very weight efficient or resource efficient as compared to some other methods. Cars, though, those are efficient.